Hello everyone, I'm Niloufar Esmaeili, president of the Digital Humanities Student Organization at the University of Texas at San Antonio. I'm a doctoral student in English. Today I'll be sharing our journey of starting a student-led initiative and how it's connected to transborder and transnational digital humanities scholarship. Um, the field of digital humanities at the University of Texas at San Antonio is at its initial stages of development. We have limited courses offered at different departments. For example, at the Department of English, theory and critical courses are taught by Professor Sylvia Fernandez, and students are introduced to creating archives, archiving methods, creating digital archives, and also border women literature and feminist cartography is also taught by Professor Fernandez, in which students are introduced to different digital tools like StoryMap.js, Graph Commons, and Voyant. And in the Department of Anthropology, there's also a course on digital mapping. But these courses are limited to each specific department, and students face challenges taking the courses outside of their departments while making sure that they are counted towards the requirements of their programs. That's why our student organization, known as DHSO, was created in order to fill these gaps, because more students are building their thesis and dissertations in the field of digital humanities. At DHSO, we have created a structured program of different activities. We host reading sessions which are moderated and facilitated by members of the organization, and we are introduced to latest trends and also digital tools in these sessions. We also host working sessions in which our members take the time to focus on their digital projects in progress while they are busy meeting deadlines and requirements of their own programs. They can use this time to specifically focus on the development of their DH projects. And we also host project showcase events in which students have the opportunity to present their projects to their peers and mentors and receive constructive feedback from them. This is a safe space for them to experiment and gain experience. Devon Bradley, our communications specialist, presented her Transborder Borderlands Literature Digital Archive at a recent showcase, and she described this experience as invaluable, not only for practicing how to discuss project management, but also for receiving feedback from peers and faculty on future directions. And another important aspect of our organization is that different members get the chance and opportunity to facilitate workshops as well, and to get trained in how to facilitate these workshops, and this prepares them for professional roles in the field. A pivotal moment for DHSO came when we connected with Mozilla Foundation, a Responsible Computing Challenge. And this initiative is for universities that are seeking to integrate responsible computing into their coursework. And Mozilla recognized our activities. They funded our activities, and in October 2024, we could host an event titled Responsible Datasets in Context, and we invited Dr. Melanie Walsh, Dr. Anna Peruz from the University of Washington, and also Dr. Amardeep Singh from Lehigh University. And working with sponsors like Mozilla has also taught me, as the president, budget management and advocacy skills for digital humanities support. So I learned to justify funding needs, create budget proposals, and navigate reimbursement processes, which trained me and prepared me for future leadership roles in the field. And DHSO is also connected to a Transborder Digital Humanities Center Consortium at UTSA, and TBDH promotes teaching, research, and collaboration focused on digital work about borders and border culture, specifically U.S., Mexico borderlands, and other border regions across the Americas. And TBDH supports students through fellowships, and through this fellowship, fellows receive digital equipment, conference support, and mentoring from established scholars. And this program produced success stories. For example, one of the scholars, Paulina Hernandez, could secure a PhD position at the University of Notre Dame, and Jessica Corona was the first master's student who presented her comprehensive exam, presented a hybrid comprehensive exam. And this hybrid models present a kind of decolonial practice for our members in order to challenge institutional control over students' works, and to show that students can have agency over the works that they're producing. Another fruitful activity for DHSO was writing a proposal for hosting a regional hub for the Association for Computers and Humanities Conference. And in this regional hub, we focus on social justice and transnational digital humanities, multilingual practices, and community engaged and community-based scholarship. So we hosted watch parties for watching the keynote speeches and main panels and selected panels of the conference, and we added our local discussions featuring our own DH projects created by our members, and this connected our work with local and international conversations in the field of DH, while actually showcasing our own perspective that UTSA and San Antonio bring to the field of digital humanities. In order to show how DHSO's supportive environment helps members develop DH projects, I'd like to talk about my own digital project on documenting gender-based violence in Iran using digital tools. This is going to be, expanded to be my dissertation. So in this project, I investigated how Iranian women use social media in order to circumvent censorship and to maintain their digital presence and to build solidarity networks. I applied transnational feminism theory to this project, and I'm particularly drawn to Catherine D'Ignasio's theory of data feminism and counter data science, which prioritizes individual stories and counter stories in order to fill the gaps in authoritarian contexts where official data sources are not reliable. And so my methodology is a hybrid methodology. For this project, I created a digital archive using Omeka in order to document the data that I had collected from different social media sources. And the reason for creating a digital archive for protecting ephemeral content from being removed, because this content might be removed or lost due to algorithmic changes and also platform moderations. And if you scan the QR codes, you'll be directed to my projects. I also created a digital map using StoryMap.js for documenting the challenges of Iranian women social media influencers who were actually forced to immigrate to other countries such as the US, Canada, or Spain, Turkey, in order to maintain their digital presence. And I used StoryMap.js to show how these women were dislocated in order to maintain their digital presence. I also tracked the circulation of hashtags that were used in Women Life Freedom movement, which are Mahsa Amini and Women Life Freedom, in order to show how Iranian women used hashtags and social media in order to circumvent censorship and maintain and to build solidarity networks. So as you can see, DHSO's value extends beyond academic growth to create meaningful social impact. Omir Zulfikar, one of our members, shared, as a member of a marginalized community, DHSO empowers me to invent new methodologies of intersectionality in the field while bringing stories from my own community. And this highlights how our organization created an environment for people from different perspectives and backgrounds to contribute their own unique perspective. And through Mozilla partnership and community engaged scholarship, so we aim to reduce technological inequalities in the field of digital humanities and increase diversity. And we also aim to share our experience of building a student initiative with other institutions, particularly those without extensive DH programs. And our journey shows that formal coursework isn't the only way to digital humanities scholarship and expertise, and student-led organizations can fill this gap while providing space for other members to be innovative. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll now turn the presentation to Devon Bradley.
Hi, my name is Devon Bradley. I am a third-year PhD student in the Department of English at the University of Texas, San Antonio. And this is going to be kind of documenting the workflow of building a transborder literary archive of U.S.-Mexico borderlands literature from a course final project into something that's going to be part of my dissertation chapter and eventually have a home in my community. So documenting kind of the process of creating this archive. It started as a course final project back in spring 2023 for my seminar Latinx OXE across borders taught by Dr. Silvia Fernandez. And it was not only part of a required course, but is also probably the course that changed the trajectory of my degree. And this archive was created using omeka.net, and this is part of an effort for modeling a transborder literary archival space. And I have included an image of the space that I'm including in my archive, specifically the Rio Grande Valley on both sides. The image shows the US border side, which is where I call home, so I'm implanting some of my positionality into this work. But part of the question that this archive is intervening in is what happens when we consider borderlands literature to consider both sides, not just the US side, but also northern Mexico, and consider the shared literary heritage of this area. So working with a transborder perspective has been ongoing work, especially in response to some of the division between old and new traditions, what we're considering to be borderlands literature, whether it's a static definition, what are we considering the borderlands, if we're just considering physical borders, or also literary borders within those two regions. But ultimately, this question is, I'm wrestling with the question right now from 2023 to the present moment, how can literature kind of counter the notion of what we see as borders and intervene in some of the conversations of social justice and education in both sides, from the Rio Grande Valley into Nuevo León and Tamaulipas. So I've included a link to this project on the QR code and also a direct link. I've included a screenshot of what this page looks like right now. This is the home page. And the way that it's been organized has been organized chronologically. And it is organized kind of in the way that it was when I had the course project. I organized it by explaining my methodology for picking these particular texts, particular authors that I'm focusing on, particular works, and also organizing it chronologically. Organizing this literature archive chronologically was probably the most difficult part, and something that DHSO and the Transborder Digital Humanities Lab has kind of helped me is whether this definition of looking at rigid chronology is something that I can reconsider for the future. So on the homepage, I have an excerpt from a collection by Oscar Cáceres called from his collection, Brownsville Stories. And then I featured particular items that I find that would be interesting for people visiting the site. One is Jovita Gonzalez's The Woman Who Lost Her Soul and Other Stories, and featuring more contemporary works by authors on both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border. But some of the initial challenges and considerations that went into creating this archive, and I'm still wrestling with these at this point, is how to access these texts and navigating fair use and copyright. Is particularly with more contemporary borderlands literature, and also the accessibility of some of the Spanish language texts from pre-1900s and also to the present to a certain extent. One example is the work of Martín Solares. I was only able to access one or two of his works in Spanish because I wasn't able, just because of the institutional constraints. So for the future, I would like to be able to get a hold of more texts that are from the northern Mexican side. But if we look at how the chronology has organized, it's flowing with the definition of how we're viewing these borderlands, not quite as a rigid geographical line, but rather something that's all-encompassing and unique to this particular area of the world. And also maintaining, it's also been something that I've been working to expand my definition of what the South Texas borderlands can be, and also what my definition of borderlands literature is and can be. So the role of DHSO has encouraged me to seek feedback on this project, not just turning it into a course project, submitting it for the College of Liberal Arts and Liberal and Fine Arts Research Conference, and also presenting it at the DHSO Project Showcase. It's changed from just this is my final project to a focus on the workflow and how to maintain it after graduation. I will be graduating in 2 years, so I would like to find a home for this that is not connected to the institution so much, versus explaining the premise and justifying the methodology behind a transborder archive. And also the feedback from other DH students and faculty from other disciplines in the library have been invaluable. And in the working sessions, it's been a really valuable time to test new tools outside of Omeka, and also expanding the reach to get a hold of those texts by Northern Mexican authors, and also expanding some of the historical texts as well. So future directions for this work, I hope to move it to Collection Builder and, of course, add more authors. It's not comprehensive by any means, but I'm thinking about how this life of the project can survive after graduation and continue to grow, and hopefully be a teaching tool that I can use when I return back to my hometown. And also the additional work, it's taught me to think about the additional work and labor to continue to develop a digital project along with the traditional written dissertation. I'm not in a position right now with kind of the composition of my committee to do a hybrid dissertation, but this work is contributing to the potential for future students to engage in a hybrid dissertation like my colleague Nilu. And also thinking about how transborder digital humanities as a field is still growing and developing. Hopefully that this project can be a step towards defining what it can be and what it can do. But at this point, it's still developing and it's a work in progress. And I'm going to turn this presentation over to my colleague Jessica. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Corona, and I'm a graduate student at the University of Texas at San Antonio. I am in the Master's Spanish program, and my research focuses on the intersections of gender violence and the borderlands, specifically on the U.S.-Mexico borderlands, utilizing DH methods and tools. And my research focuses on the curation of a database where I analyze and systematize the representation and the documentation of gender-based violence during the 19th centuries and 20th centuries in the Latino press using Spanish newspapers published in El Paso, Texas, and San Antonio, Texas. So when I first started the master's program, the very first class that I took was the Border Women's Literature and Feminist Cartographies by Doctora Silvia Fernandez. And this class focused on the El Paso del Norte U.S.-Mexico border region, and it completely shifted the way I understood the borderlands and gender violence, and it introduced me to a decolonial, trans-border, and transnational feminist lens. So this course also introduced me to digital humanities tools, something that I was not familiarized with before entering the master's program. And so in this class, we discussed important questions like how is data collected, how is it used, and most importantly, who does it benefit? And so these questions are the ones that continue to guide my work that I'm doing now, that is now my thesis. So through this course, I actually began developing my database project 2 years ago. That is now my thesis. Even though the class that I took, this class, was outside of the department, I still decided to enroll in it because it helped me build the foundation of my research, and it opened the kinds of digital projects that were already being done, like databases, digital projects from the US and in Latin America too, so I could get familiarized with that. And so, sorry. And so my work has been made possible through a fellowship. I have been given tools that support the need of developing this digital database, and also writing a thesis that is not only exploring gender-based violence, but is also reflecting how I gather and structure the data. I am the first master's student, I'm the first master's student creating or developing a hybrid thesis, not the one that only has academic writing, but it's also a digital format, which is a database. And this has been challenging because digital humanities is still very new to the program, and also there's not many courses or professors that focus on DH. So that means that I've had to work outside of the department to look for conferences, workshops. For example, I've had to, so the process has been self-guided learning, but it has helped me a lot to understand more what DH means. It's also helped me understand what digital humanities looks like in practice, like the DHSO organization. And so, like being with my colleagues, I think we created a safe space where we can receive critical or positive feedback, where we feel like our work is supported and understood. So my work has been made possible through a fellowship, the Transported Digital Humanities Consortium, which has given me the tools and the support that I need to develop the digital base that I'm currently working on, and also writing a thesis that is exploring gender-based violence, but it's also reflecting how I'm gathering, structuring, and interpreting the data that I'm collecting through these Spanish newspapers that I'm contextualizing. And so throughout this journey, I created a methodology that is building the database, and I've also developed a theoretical framework that is grounded in feminist data studies, which helps me think critically about what my work means and how I'm collecting this work responsibly and contextually. So one thing that has helped me has been the student organization and the consortium. For example, Melanie Walsh from the University of Washington talks about the life cycles of databases and how we visualize the structure, the growth, and the purpose of these databases. So it's helped me think about my own database, where the data that I'm gathering is coming from, what I think might be missing in the data and in the database, and how I'm creating this database with intention and care. And so something that, just to close off, something that really has that matters to me is the work that I'm doing in these spaces. I feel like I'm deeply connected to the geographical spaces that I'm working with. I'm from El Paso, so I'm documenting cases of gender-based violence in El Paso. I'm doing my master's in San Antonio, so I feel way more connected and I understand more of the geographical area that I'm working with. And so it's helped me understand how these places are important to build projects that are meant for the border and are from the border. So thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I am Elisa Castro. I'm in my third semester as a Spanish master's student at the University of San Antonio in Texas. My presentation is called Unveiling Heritage, Mapping Migration and Identity Through Digital and Archival Practices. As our president, Nilu, mentioned, we do have these amazing DHSO reading sessions every couple of weeks at UTSA, and during these reading sessions, we usually have a student or a member of the organization guide us through a text that has to do with DH practices, and one that really stuck with me was given to us by one of our English PhD members, Amir, and it's called New Digital Worlds by Rupika Risam. And she really focuses on decolonial practices when we're doing these DH projects. And in a bit, I'm going to mention what my specific project encompasses, but I work with a very vulnerable and underrepresented community in the north of Mexico. And so these sort of conversations on decolonial practices, how to responsibly gather research from small towns like this, is really essential to my work, and this reading has really helped me sort of develop this framework. And so this is my digital project. It's called, I'm going to translate for you because it's in Spanish. It's mapping the cultural mosaic of Viesca, exploring migration, heritage, and identity. And currently it's housed on omeka.net, like a lot of my peers have mentioned. It's a really great digital resource. What I really love about it is that you can have these bigger projects, these big digital maps, these big digital timelines all in one place. So if you can see here, we have the About page, and then we have my map, which I will go into a little bit further. And then we have my timeline, and further down the line, there will be a section with some oral testimonies that I am currently in the process of gathering. But this was developed during the Latina Studies Text and Context class taught by Doctora Silvia Fernandez. In this course, we were sort of given many digital tools and sort of guided through some ways of how to use these on the, I don't want to say a surface level, but on an easier level. And she taught us many different things. And then further now in my degree, as a lot of my peers have mentioned, there's not that many DH courses offered in each separate program. For example, I'm in the Spanish program, and there's not that many options for us within the program, and so we have been offered the opportunity to go outside of our department into different departments and take courses within those. For example, this semester I'm taking a history class on ArcGIS, and we are just focusing on how to use ArcGIS Pro, how to create vectors, how to create layers, how to input these big databases into one digital map. And so that has been a really essential part of my degree at this point, because I had never taken a course outside of the English or the Spanish department, and to be with a bunch of historians was kind of intimidating at the beginning, but it was also very helpful. Yeah, thank you. It's been very helpful. Yeah, she loves it too. So yeah, that's essentially what we would like for the DH program at UTSA to grow into, for students to have these different experiences outside of their departments. So like I mentioned, this is the first component of my project. It began as a honestly, it was a really big timeline that I was just taking sort of all the information I could get. And it begins from the inception of this small town. Oh, I did not mention what my project was. Let me introduce that first. My project centers around migration in the north of Mexico, specifically in a small town called Viesca, Coahuila, which is where my family comes from. I'm a first-generation American in the U.S., and so I have a lot of ties to this place. I'm constantly traveling to there, and so I have a big connection with the people, with the community, obviously with my own family. And so this timeline explores these different migrations that have taken place, specifically the reasons why people have been pushed out of Viesca or pushed in. One of them being, this is an example that I like to use because I think there's a thread that you can follow. And so it begins with the opening of the Empresa de Sulfato, which is a salt mining factory in Viesca, begins in 1953. Then we have this really famous Mexican salt brand called Salada that is developed there. Then the production goes into a decline, and then in the end, it closes in 1993. And when this factory closed, many jobs were lost. Many people had to migrate to other places, whether it was in Mexico or outside of Mexico. And here is the back end of this timeline. It's not as pretty or as exciting to look at as the actual timeline, but this was my favorite part of developing this project, is sort of gathering the research, putting it somewhere where it's nice and neat. And then this is the second phase of my project, which is a digital map, which is more of a spatial analysis of all these different places that I mentioned in my timeline. So the factories mentioned there. There's also bodies of water that used to exist there that don't exist anymore. And for more context, this place is in a very deserted area. It's in the middle of a desert in Mexico, so water is an essential resource. It's incredibly important, and once that disappears, people have to leave to other places. Oh, my picture didn't load. Sorry. Okay. So what is next for me? I am in, as I said, I'm in my third semester at UTSA. Next semester, I will be graduating and completing my hybrid thesis, like Jessica just did this semester. And so over the summer, I'm gonna refine my work. I'm gonna finish my map. I'm gonna document these oral testimonies that I have been using. So far, I've only written down many of these local histories, but I am actively going to record them in a way that is responsible and hopefully can be preserved better. I want this project to be an accessible tool because, like I said, this is a much more vulnerable community than other communities that I'm a part of, and I would like for it to be handled responsibly, and I would like to work directly with the people there. Some challenges that I had at the beginning of this project was finding a lot of this research because there's not a lot of documented written history about Viesca, and it involved a lot of these oral histories. That is a very big part of our culture, is to have these oral testimonies, and that's why I'm working for a way to have them somewhere, to live somewhere where everybody could see them. One of the big things that was a big milestone this semester was that we got our TBDH lab. We have a space, an office, where we have desktops, where we have things that we need to do this type of work. And more importantly, we have a good group of people that we can bounce ideas back and forth. That has been essential in this type of work. And I think it has really allowed me to rethink the way I see academia and the way I see these big, important projects. And yeah, like I said, my end goal is to create a very accessible platform that honors this type of work and this heritage through the community itself. And thank you.
Thank you guys for your patience. My name is Emily Graciel Rodriguez Guajardo. My pronouns are she, they. I am a Spanish student, a Spanish master's student. I should be hopefully graduating next semester, and I will also be joining my colleagues in having a multimodal thesis. So it will have the written part in addition to also having the digital component to it. And awesome, you guys can scan the QR code. You'll have access to my project. If you guys want to go through the project while I'm speaking, that's also cool as well. And yeah, so a little bit about my project. The name of my project is Latina Queer Stories, Testimonios Orales de Migración, or Latina Queer Stories, Oral Testimonies of Migration. So this project actually started as a digital project for Dr. Silvia Fernandez's class, which I took or was offered in the spring of 2024. So the project works basically to reconnect and engage to promote rich literary, archival, and cultural heritage of Latina communities in San Antonio through its different historical migration flows. This project is actually called LAPS, and the Latina Queer Stories, Testimonios Orales de Migración is one module of that entire big project, as you will see if you click on the link. So I actually did not build this myself. As everybody knows, right, digital humanities work is often very tedious. So I did do this work alongside my colleague Kevin. He is not here today. I do miss him dearly, but he was also very primal to this module. So yeah, it is a bilingual project deeply rooted in humanizing, preserving, and making space for Latina queer voices. We did choose the neogilism, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, Latina, to subvert the feminine, masculine gender binary and include all who make up the Latina diaspora. The project is born from the urgency of creating spaces for those whose stories of gender, sexual, and immigrant identity have been historically marginalized and silenced, thus challenging dominant narratives and fostering a more inclusive understanding of queer, Latina, sexual, and immigrant identity experiences, especially with intersecting identities. We do focus a lot on the borderlands in this project, specifically the Texas, South Texas, Tamaulipas region. So yeah. And the inspirations for the project and then some contextual literature that we do use to contextualize this project is above. So our inspirations were Julián Delgado Lopero and his Cuéntamelo anthology. He did conduct oral histories of Latinx immigrant people, which he includes in the anthology. And then to contextualize the project as well, one of the books and some of the books and articles I use include that of Emma Perez's Queering the Borderlands, The Challenges of Excavating the Invisible and the Unheard. I did include one of her quotes from that article. And I think one of the most important things I gather from it is the fact that Emma Perez basically introduces the concept of the colonial imaginary, in which she refers to it as a dominant historical narrative that is shaped by colonial and heteronormative perspectives. She does argue that these narratives often marginalize or erase the experiences of women, people of color, and LGBTQ+ individuals. So to counter this, Perez does advocate for the decolonial imaginary by adopting a framework aimed at reevaluating history to include these overlooked voices. So these are some of the inspirations that we used for the project, and in which we did try to be very careful and very loving in creating it. So the project design and methodology in creating Latina queer stories, testimonios orales de migración. The theoretical framework and methodology were inspired also by Cindy O. Fierros and Dolores Delgado Bernal's Vamos a Platicar, the contours of Pláticas as Chicana Latina feminist methodology. Fierros and Bernal basically helped us focus on the interconnectedness of method, methodology, and epistemology, and how pláticas, or just having a simple conversation, can be a strategy to collect data that encompasses theory, analysis, the research process, techniques, and strategies to collect data, and the nature, status, and production of knowledge based on worldviews influenced by someone's lived environment. And again introducing or talking about intersecting identities that goes like taking into consideration race, gender, sexuality, and all of that good stuff. And I did include a link. I'll go through it briefly if you guys are not going through it. All right. So just a brief overview. Like I said, this is a bilingual module, so you will see that we translated it in Spanish and English. The Spanish version always goes first. We do have the description of the module, methodology, and theoretical framework. And then you will see basically two sections to the project. We have the first, or we don't have a first or second section, but we have two sections to it, right? We have the transfronteriza testimonies, which includes me, myself, and some of my friends, some of Kevin's friends as well, in which we spoke about what it means to navigate a queer Latino space, specifically in the border or as an immigrant in the US, correct? And then this is my colleague, Kevin. You guys aren't seeing him, but you are seeing him in the video, so he is awesome. Another aspect to the module was the fact that we asked our interviewees to provide us with a symbol that represented their queer Latino identity at its best. We did give them a lot of flexibility in which they could provide us with something like, it didn't have to be something tangible. And just a brief overview, we did include some queer books of San Antonio, some archives, and again, a lot of this was made very intentionally, in which we tried to put stuff on the module that was open access and didn't require like someone being a student. It is a very community-centered project that we did conduct, so we wanted to very much stick to that. And then let me go ahead and go back to the presentation. Okay, perfect. And then just a quick, just a quick project and teamwork reflection. Some of our intended project outcomes were documenting and humanizing experiences, community and individual empowerment, cultural preservation, policy advocacy, I feel like especially right now in our current political climate, education and research, and overall healing. Yeah. And then the QR code is there. Something else I do want to touch on, and that is the Trans-Border Digital Humanities Consortium. So through TBDH, CEDIS, and UTSA libraries, November 2024, we were able to host a community event in which we held a roundtable discussion, which explored the vital work that is preserving LGBTQ+ Latino oral histories, and the, again, urgency of ensuring we're kind of creating a space for these voices to be heard. Yeah, and then you can see a picture of Kevin and I presenting. Something small that I do want to mention is something that I guess I learned from this community event was how we should approach when institutions are trying to get a project such as this, and how I can basically, me and Kevin had to approach this in, how do I word this? Keeping our project post-custodial, and ensuring that we as students like know that sometimes the implications big institutions have on these projects. And again, this goes back to who has access to the data, who creates the data, who handles it, and yeah. And again, we also have the Digital Student Organization. The Digital Student Organization has provided me with networking opportunities, practicing ethical and community-centered work, training, learning about accessible resources, and one of the DHSO reading discussions that we had was led by our English PhD student, Adriana Mata. She did assign us to read Gesa Kirsch's Unsettling Archival Research, the Introduction Chapter 1 and Chapter 7, and then I did gather this quote that I really like, that I feel like kind of connects to my work very well, and through these discussions I have also been able to better contextualize my digital project, which is now I'm building up to be my thesis, and hopefully maybe in the future to be my dissertation as well. So I am going to read it. As Latinx students and other historically marginalized groups continue to face challenging events, including the COVID-19 pandemic, which has disproportionately affected Black and Brown communities, and find ways to respond to them. As seen by the racial justice movement led by Black Lives Matter that has brought race and systemic racism to the center of many national conversations, it's imperative that we continue to expand our approaches to archives and to seek materials beyond formal archives so that we can do justice to the histories of marginalized communities. And thank you. That's it.